Man, you guys are in for a treat today because we have with us. There's two of us, obviously. There's me and our special guest, and we happen to be the two best dressed guys in the industry. Not really. I mean, he's the best dressed, probably. I'm probably somewhere in the top 700. But I'm excited to have my friend and gym branding and designer, Cuoco Black. Cuoco, thanks so much for being with us today.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here and help you guys out best I can.
Awesome. We're going to get into some really important concepts to help gym owners. But before we do that, how does a guy end up with the name like Cuoco Black?
Yeah, my grandparents came from Naples, Italy, and my grandfather's name is Cuoco, Cuoco, and it means chef, cooking, and kitchen. And so it just was appropriate for me as a designer to use my Italian family's name. And I always wear black most of the time, so Cuoco Black.
Nice. Well, thanks for sharing that. Most gym owners, most podcasts, most business podcasts and content around there, it's all about obsessing over sales and marketing. And I talk a lot about that. So, yeah, it's important, of course. But very few realize the importance of maybe the best marketing machine could be their actual space, like what happens when people walk in the doors. So we're going to talk all about that. But I'd love for you to share, before we get into like specific design questions, if we can get into, because you and I, we met, we had dinner with a bunch of friends and all that good stuff. But you talked about your bodybuilding and your background and all that stuff. Like, how did you get from wherever you were to the whole design side of things where you are now?
Yes, I was in Manhattan. I went to design school in New York City, one of the top, I'm proud to say. And after I graduated, I started going to gyms as a side thing, just to get in shape physically. And I was in the gyms, and I was like, wow, it was actually Crunch Gym in New York City. And I was going, wow, these gyms could use good design services. So I thought, why don't I just combine my design skills with my love for bodybuilding, and that's how it spanned, how it started. That's how I got into it.
I love that. And again, one more thing before we get into the design. I'm kind of being a tease here, but one of the things that is quickly noticeable about you, obviously we're not sure who's watching, who's listening, but you have a distinct look about you. You don't look like the typical guy in the gym industry. So yeah, I mean that's cool, but like more importantly, what would you say to those listening that just want to stand out from I don't know if you want to call it a personal brand standpoint or just the image they're coming across? And yeah, full disclosure, I'm sitting here with a T-shirt. It is branded and a hat, but that's
Yeah.
besides the point.
Well, I've been a natural bodybuilder for 30 years, so um, just because what you see outside doesn't mean that on the inside I'm not like everybody in the industry. I'm in pretty good shape, but where I come from, coming out of New York City, you're exposed to the best
Mm-hmm.
fashion, finance, real estate, design, arts, and so that rubbed off on me. And I also
Nice.
like to study, let's say, um, successful people in their trades and how they do
Mm-hmm.
what they do. And I find that for me as a designer, I have to stand out amongst
Mm-hmm.
all the gym designers that I compete against. And so what I've done is I developed kind of naturally, it came naturally to me to brand myself. And so
Nice.
you'll see, if for those who follow me and know me, know that I have a particular style of look, but that translates into everything that I do across the board in my work and in my personal lifestyle. So it's kind of like Hulk Hogan, if you will. You look at the way the guy dresses, but it's his character and its personality. And I really feel that if you're a gym owner and you want to stand out, you need to have a brand, because otherwise you're doing, what I call gym better sameness. So I think
Yeah.
that you need to look at the big picture. And a lot of gym owners are mostly guys that were gym guys that came into the
Yeah.
fitness industry. They loved gyms, they loved helping people, and they wanted to start start a gym. And so that's kind of how we started in the industry. And I know everybody from the low end to the high end gyms and in between. I know everybody. And you'll see there's a lot of people in the corporate sphere, that are into the branding thing. And so I think that's a soft spot for independent gym owners. I'm not sure if your followers are all independent gym owners, but is this idea of marketing yourself and branding. And I think it's a soft spot that could really help the owners or your listeners, if they're following, to start to look into these kind of ideas.
That's really such a good point. If you think about where quote unquote successful gym owners or the guys that are well known, you will see a correlation. I think of a guy like Mark Fisher. I think of Todd Durkin and others that you could probably hear those names and you kind of get an idea of what they might be dressed like, what they're acting like, and there's something to that. So I appreciate you sharing that. Speaking of soft spots, I know another soft spot might be the design of our gyms. So what are some of the mistakes that you see typical studio owners making when it comes to their gym design?
Let me take my glasses off because it's reflecting. Well, typically when I meet a gym developer, one of the things that I do is I try to help them understand what the industry does at large. And so I try to point out what everybody's doing. And those of you who are following closely and really understand the industry will see a few things that are what I call trends. You'll see the gyms with the hexagon lighting fixtures or the chevron lighting fixtures that look like arrows. Or you'll see the graffiti. You'll see the green astroturf again and again. You see turf with line markings. And then that's on the gyms that look like gym side. And then we have another side, what I call the boutique gyms, the hospitality gyms. That could be Equinox and Remedy Place is a wellness brand. But these are the hospitality brands. And so what happens is the gym industry, the gym owners, what they do is they go online looking for design ideas. And that's, I think, one of the biggest faults and an easy way to squander your investment is to look online at what other gym owners are doing, or other gym brands are doing, and copy that. Do their ideas. You saw that, so you take that idea, you put it in the gym. The problem with that is everybody's doing that. And so one of the things I advise gym owners to do is to develop their own concept, come up with an idea for your gym, and we can get into that a little bit later on in the podcast. So I think that's really, if there's a starting point to the conversation, the gym owners need to be careful that they're not using design trends that other gyms are doing. That's the first thing.
Now, would you recommend them check out other gyms just to see what's out there, or maybe even to see what not to do? Or do you recommend they just go their own lane, figure out their concept, and go from there?
Yeah, it's funny. It depends on the individual, but I think both. Mm-hmm. So it depends on the character, the personality. Mm-hmm. So I have a gym owner in Worcester. You probably know him, Frank Nash. And Frank Nash was like when I first met Frank, really competitive. He had a typical gym, looked like a CrossFit gym. It was gray and black, and he had the bodybuilding posters. And when I met Frank, and the point was, Frank came up to me on our first meeting and he pointed his finger at me and said, "Cuoco," he goes, "I want to be 1,000 years ahead of my competitors." And so in order to do that, you can't look at the gym industry and do what everybody else is doing, because you're not going to be 1,000 years ahead of them. The argument is, I think you could get a general idea of what everyone's doing. As I mentioned earlier, everybody is doing a black gym, or doing the gym with the hexagon lighting fixtures, or doing the gym with the arrows in it. Everybody is doing that. And so when Frank met me, he said, as I said, I want to be 1,000 years ahead of my competitors. So I said, "Frank, what about a concept? Do you have a concept for your gym?" And I suggested to Frank and all the gym owners that I meet with is, what's your concept for your gym? Do you have any ideas? And I suggested, in Frank's case, was there any Hollywood movies that inspired you? If your gym could be really cool and it looked like some Hollywood film, what would that be? And he said, yes, the film Ultraviolet with Mila Jovovich. And we designed Frank's gym around the concept in the movie. And when those who know Frank's Gym, and I guess you could help your followers like that with that, if anybody wants to follow up on that. His gym was very kind of futuristic looking. He told me when after we did the design of the gym, a prospect walked into the gym and said, "I'm looking for a new gym, and I heard about you guys." And he said the prospect was looking around. He was like, "Wow, I've never been in a place like this." And Frank said, "Well, please go look at my competitors' gyms." And he said, "I don't need to be anyplace else. I feel like I'm in a spaceship." And so, if you get the meaning of what I'm trying to say is, you have a better advantage against your competitors if you have a gym that's different than what everybody else is doing. And everybody else is doing, as I said, they look like a gym or they look like a boutique hotel.
Yeah, what were those things you said? Like the same turf, the same lighting, and there was something else there?
Yeah, the same turf, the same lighting. They do. Everybody is doing AstroTurf with line markings in them.
Oh, yeah.
People
Yep.
are still doing graffiti. They're putting
Yeah.
wood paneling on the walls. Everybody continues to do wood paneling on the walls. I always blog about that, and I get people that understand that and respect that, and there's a lot of people who get a little bit upset because I'm calling out the trends that they're using, and they've invested money in doing that, and they're finding out after that investment, well, everybody's doing that. I'm not different than anyone else, and you need to be different. Like I said on the branding when you asked me at the beginning, I look different than everybody else in all of my competitors.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and then the whole thing with the Equinox site, everybody knows this. I think Equinox is a great brand, but so many people have copied that. And what Equinox has done, what I'll call the hospitality design or the boutique design side of the gym industry. I used to be in boutique design in Manhattan. I designed nightclubs and restaurants and hotels in New York City. And what happens with that market segment in the gym industry is the gym developers take the design aesthetics from hospitality, restaurants, condominiums, hotels. They take those design aesthetics, put it in their lobby, put it in their locker rooms, and then they put gym equipment in the gym, and they say they have a boutique gym. Well, anybody can do that. So again, there's the gyms that look like gyms, and it could be a Planet Fitness, and it could be an Anytime Fitness, it could be a CrossFit gym, an independent gym. But it's a gym. You walk in, the turf. You've
Yeah.
got the hexagon lighting fixtures, blasting rock and roll music, and that's okay. I mean, if that's what you want to do, great. But if you have a competitor that comes to your marketplace that uses the same design features that you use, and they have more money and they do it better, what did you do? You just squandered your investment. So that's my argument.
Yeah. One of the things I think about, the design, of course, we want to tie it to profit, and you and I have talked about that before recording, and we could talk more about that. But I feel like the design side, just in general, is more of that, like that right brain kind of, like it really like touches the emotions and it creates good feelings, which we know will lead to all the good things, right? More, better experience, more referrals, more, longer retention. And there's then the other side, which is very like pragmatic, practical. Like I'm trying to see the connection. So what's my question there? I'm wondering if you could talk a little bit about like how that actually works out, like just from the standpoint of the customer experience. Like I walk into a place, whether it looks like a spaceship or whatever it is that kind of jumps out to me. What does that actually do to my experience?
The purpose of this, and it's, for example, you can take an Apple store. If you go into an Apple store, they're all the same. They have this beautiful, sleek aesthetic,
Yeah.
really high quality products. And so that's the idea, is that the design helps influence the consumer to feel that there's something special here that they want to be part of. And so
Wow.
Planet Fitness aside, that particular customer isn't there so much for the experience. It's the
Yeah.
HVLP, the lower price point model. So design doesn't need to be as important. But in the most crowded place is the middle market. That's where all the competition is. You have the low end brands, you have the high end brands, and then everybody's fighting in the middle. And that's why in the middle you have to stand out. And in order to charge more money like Frank does, and a lot of the people that I work with, the reason they're working with us is because we give them a design that's so distinctly different and cool than their competitors that they feel it validates the membership price point. And that we've seen that happen again and again, that our clients, or the gym owners I should say, that we're working with, can charge more money for a membership than they previously could with a gym that looked like any other gym in their marketplace. So consumers are aspirational. They love,
Yeah.
lifestyle and travel and nice cars and clothes and all of that. And again, I'm talking about the middle market. We've got like the luxury brands, and then we have the low price brands. But in that middle market, there's a lot of space, what I call blue ocean, to develop a brand in your marketplace that stands above everybody else, that people talk about. It goes viral. People say, man, that gym's so cool. And I hear this all the time. And it validates a higher price point.
Yeah, I mean, I think the easy argument, if anybody's thinking like, oh, it doesn't really matter, is like you just look at restaurants. Like I am 100%. I'm the furthest thing from a big spender, but I am 100% going to be much more likely to go to a restaurant that has like a real cool feel to it, nice ambiance, especially if it's important to me to have a good experience there. So our clients are the same way, right? I think a lot
Yeah.
of you correct me if I'm wrong, Cuoco, but I think a lot of us kind of come from that like in the trenches fitness world, and we don't care so much. I actually go to Planet Fitness, right? So I don't care. I want to go there, get a quick workout, and get out of there.
Right.
I am not the boutique studio customer or this high-end customer, so we got to make sure that we're not putting our mindset into our customers who maybe, who knows, late 50s, they have some expendable money, they're happy to pay for
Yep.
that experience and that atmosphere.
Yep, I'm talking about that. Most of the developers I'm working with have that target customer. They're sort of 40, 50, 60, more disposable
Mm-hmm.
income, more appreciative of lifestyle
Mm-hmm.
brands. And, if you can carve out and be what I call the top of the pyramid in your marketplace, to be that one gym that appeals to that
Yeah.
demographic and their lifestyle interest, that's really prime, because nobody else can compete against you, because they're all doing the gyms that look like gyms, or another
Yeah.
Equinox. So yeah, there's a great opportunity in the middle that people that gym developers can take advantage if they ply that trade in really competitive. And you've got to have that sort of aggressive personal characteristic. And it just doesn't make sense to take all this money that you've invested over all these years and to build a gym that like anybody else can build. Okay. And so
Yeah.
now what's the problem? Now you have retention problems because your competitors are offering
Mm-hmm.
a better program or a new piece of equipment. So if you can
Mm-hmm.
separate yourself from the mainstream and develop something of your own, that's a place of marketing where you can differentiate yourself from your competitors.
Yeah. And let's say we're talking a little bit about that, and I want to start designing, thinking about brand identity. Where would I start? Like, what are some of the more important pieces that we want to look at?
Well, always, it's of course it's your facade, your exterior, but really the reception area when people walk in is where I have what I call the 80-20 rule. You've heard of this before. In
Mm-hmm.
argument, in theory, I suggest to gym owners to invest a greater proportion of their build out monies in the design and development of the reception area, because it's the
Good.
first place consumers
Mm-hmm.
get the impression of your brand. And that's what happened, as I said with Frank. The prospect walked in. He said, I feel like I'm in a spaceship. I don't want to go anyplace else. And so that's one area that you could focus and spend, again, as I said, the 80-20 rule, a greater proportion of your budget in the design and development of your reception area. After that, your locker rooms need to come up. Invest in the locker rooms, do something there, reception area, locker rooms, and then the rest of the gym. And what's beautiful about this is if you know how to maneuver the build out cost, the budget, the construction details, you can spend less money at the back of the gym on the training floor by just threading in some of the colors, some of the lightings, and you don't have to spend money in design through the whole gym. really focus on the reception area, a little bit in the locker rooms, and the rest of the gym could just be paint and simple lighting, but it has to thread and tie into the reception area. So focus on the reception area if we're talking, hard strategy and the exterior of your building. I have a customer in Peabody, Massachusetts. He reached out to us, um, and they wanted to do a gym that was inspired by the Matrix. It was really cool. You've seen that gym,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
when you look in the windows, it looks like the green rain coming down, which was the digital. They called that digital rain. We did this great sort of
Nice.
reception area in the gym, and it was a great story because next door to him for like 3 years was a dance studio that was operated by a former Boston Patriots cheerleader. This was outside of Boston, and they had a dance studio. And the guys that owned the gym said, "You know what? The women walk by every day, and they never even once opened the doors and knew what we wanted to do. And as soon as we redesigned the area, they started coming in. What do you guys do?" So everything I'm saying is fact. These
Yeah.
are hard strategies to upstage your competition. You've got to hook them, and
I would
there's
say
so
too.
much competition. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say too. What I'm hearing is because I started my first gym was like 2010. It was so very different then, and now it's so much more competitive. The days of the dirty open warehouse are gone, and if you don't like adhere to at least some of this, like you're going to be left behind because at some point it's gonna be where the top is moving, and it already is. You mentioned a couple of movies, which was helpful, and your experience with a couple of your clients. Anything else around concepts like, hey, like say someone like me, for example. So I had a gym. I did not do a great job of this. Thankfully, we were a little bit earlier, so I think it would have been good for us, but it affected us probably less than it would now, and we had some other advantages and whatnot. But someone like me, this is not my wheelhouse, and that's why there's people like you, of course. But I want to think through the concept. Like I want to do something here. I just kind of like don't really know where to go. I love the idea about the lobby, but I don't know if I want the rain thing. Or you mentioned, thinking about movies. Are there any other frameworks to thinking about ideas
Yeah,
for concepts?
there's a couple other really solid ones. I worked with the former COO at World Gym, Jared Sirocco, really talented operator, and he brought me in to work on the redesign for the World Gyms. And his concept was inspired by the Dodge Charger Hellcat. It was a limited
Nice.
edition muscle car that was going to be discontinued. It was black and red, and already the World Gym's brand color scheme is black and red. And so what we
Nice.
developed was this really cool kind of um, strong character, interesting geometries. What we did is we took the design. I'm Italian, you can see me using my hands. We took the design of the Dodge Charger Hellcat and we extracted colors and material, carbon fiber. So the reception desk was going to be carbon fiber. And then we took the lights and then some of the other interesting parts of the design of the car, and integrated it into the design of the reception area. So that's just one. So I said Hollywood movies, and there's an idea inspired by a car. Some people might like sort of aerospace or spaceships. So the things that I'm telling you are so distance from what the fitness industry does. You can see the
Yeah.
lane of going this way, the opportunity. And then I worked with Tim Lyons. You know Tim Lyons in Scottsdale, Arizona. He had a great logo. It was a round, it was a lion, it was blue and yellow. And so without a concept, we really just took his logo, his color scheme, and we re-engineered the design of this gym based on his brand color scheme. So we just came back to the gym and didn't have any specific Hollywood design elements to it, but the design of the gym was inspired by his brand color scheme. So there's different tricks, and what happens is there's sort of an educational process, an exploration process when I work with the gym
No.
owners. Well, let's talk about this, let's talk about this. And all the time, every gym owner has an idea. They already come, if I could do it, I would like to do it like this, and that's the starting point.
I like it, and you help draw that out of them. You gave a couple of great examples. You even gave some ideas for people who maybe they're not ready to take on a huge project, but they can start looking at some of the things that they could get started with. What if I'm interested in the process? Like, hey, I'm interested in doing something like this as a bigger project. You did share some of it already, but what else can you share about the actual process?
Well, on the process, depending on your budget and your cash flow, one of the things that we do with some of the developers is we can do the work in phases. So we
Nice.
suggest that you start with the reception area. So that might take you 3, 4 months to develop that, and then you have your cash flow coming in. Then you could start on the locker rooms, and then after that, maybe 6 months later, a year later, you do the back of the gym. So that's one way to do the work, is to do it in phases depending on your cash flow. But always start with the reception area in your brand color scheme and your logo. Typically, a lot of times we have to help gym owners redevelop their logos because the logos are a little sort of either unsophisticated or a little sort of aged or tired. And so we will take the logo and reinvent it, add a different color scheme, 2 or 3 colors instead of one color. So we twist the logo, we twist the icon, the logo brand identity, we twist the color scheme, and we focus on the reception area. So that's the place to start: logo, branding, reception area, color schemes. Starting
Awesome,
point.
Cuoco. Yeah, that makes sense. As we start to wrap up here, I actually share 3 questions with all of the guests, and they're just templated questions just to get us to know a little bit more about you. However, we're taking a little bit of a turn today, and I actually changed it. I have 3 questions that are specific for Cuoco. So these are questions that nobody's ever been asked. So that'll be a lot of fun. But before I do that, where can people learn more if they want to learn more about you, they want to ask you questions, or whatever they need help with?
Pretty simply, just go to Instagram, and my handle is Gym Designer, one word. Gym Designer, one word. Or they can call you.
Yep. Also, you can let me know, and I'll put you in
Yeah,
touch. All right. So you ready for the questions?
I am.
All right. So what motivates you or drives you to help gym owners to create these creative spaces that make a positive difference in the lives of
That's
them and
psychological.
the
Yeah,
customers?
yeah,
Yeah.
that's psychological and emotion. A personal inner drive. I grew up in a tough environment, and I sort of had the thumb over me growing up
Mm-hmm.
as a young kid, and it put a chip on my shoulder. And I came out of that saying, I'm going to beat everyone at whatever I do. I'm going to beat everybody up. And that's kind of my motivation, is to help the gym owners kick their competitors' butts, which we do. We have Frank Nash put an Anytime Fitness out of business around the corner for him because of
Mm-hmm.
how we work together. So my motivation is a personal drive to excel at what I do and turn that into the gym owners so they can excel and beat their competitors, if that makes
Makes
sense.
sense. Yeah, it makes sense. Don't mess with Frank Nash. You can get put out of business,
Oh,
or
the
any of
guy's good.
Cuoco's customers.
Yeah, he's
uh,
really good.
if you could have your crystal ball, what's going to happen in our industry in the next 5 years? And you could think about that. That's kind of a big question to ask.
Yeah, there's this big push with AI, and there's a big
Mm-hmm.
push with this wellness, these wellness features. But I think it's all going to come back. Remember, after the pandemic, it all came back where everybody was like, hey, it's just weight training. And I really
Yeah.
think it's going to come back to individual mom and pop brands that offer really solid health, wellness, fitness modalities that care about their clients, but doing it in a cool design, a cool environment. I really don't think all the developers I'm working with, and I'm working with really big developers, they don't care about AI. They'll
Mm-hmm.
add some wellness features to their clubs, but they're focused on what I just described on a bigger level. And I think
Yeah.
that's the future. The future is independent gyms on all the street corners with really good programming, equipment, service, and a nice design. And I think that's the future. And that's going to go counter to all the arguments with AI and all the wellness stuff that's going on there. So that's my feeling for the gym fitness side of the
Yeah.
industry. So that's a
I
good
like
sign.
it. Yeah, it is a good sign. That means we have a lot of opportunity ahead of us if that's true, which it makes perfect sense. All right, the last one here on the deep questions for you is kind of a broad question. You can kind of choose where to go, kind of like choose your own adventure here. So we talk about gym design. What does that say about either the person running the gym, how well designed their gym is, and or what does it say about the story of the business?
Well, it's great. It's interesting because it shows that the owner cares about the member experience. Not only that, something that the owner can be proud of. And it also helps them in that daily battle of competing against everybody that's doing the same thing. So the design really takes some pressure off of the owners because they're not worried about what everybody else is doing because they know what everybody's doing. So they have their own lane. They've invested in a design that's also having a pulse on the culture because look around us in the movies and in fashion and art and aerospace, all these futuristic things are happening. And so it's not just the gym owner, that society, consumers are leaning into that. So if you're leaning into that with your brand and offering that to the members, you're going to get attention because the people are moving towards that. So that's my
Yeah.
feeling. It's a good investment for the owners because it's something to be proud of, but also it's illustrating that you care about the members' experience and you're on top of things. That's my feeling.
Yeah. Well, as we close here, Cuoco, you gave us some really wonderful things to think about. This is the first time we've had a gym branding and designing expert on the show, so you brought a ton of value. I've learned a lot myself. I think this will help me in my consulting as I work with various gym owners. For those of you that are listening to our conversation and you're in our conversation, right? We're all doing this together. I encourage you to remember that the design of your gym is sending a message. What message is that sending? And then lastly, a question to ponder as you take away all these points. What is the most useful piece for you? And what do you need to do to improve the design of your gym? Cuoco, thanks so much for being with us. Really appreciate your time and looking forward to seeing some amazing gyms as a result of people's work with you in the years
Yep.
ahead.
Thank you. Happy to be here.